100 kept I do, but I still persevere, yeah, I slide through anyone or anything that ever tried to derail me. You can't tell me, not a thing. If I wanna dream, I'ma dream. Better yet, if I wanna do, I'm going to. Next move, best move. No more talk, just show, just prove. Yes, you. Yes, you.
Okay, so for this lecture, we're gonna keep rolling on this lead verse vocal.
Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy. Mama begging God to save me, but I knew I had a purpose. I knew the struggle would be worth it. I'm just a young dream chaser, gonna be a young trailblazer.
All right, so on first listen to playback there, feels a little thin. So let's see what I can do. Probably boost up some of these low mids in the vocal.
Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy. Mama begging God to save me, but I knew I had a purpose. I knew the struggle would be worth it. I'm just a young dream chaser, gonna be a young trailblazer. Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy. Mama begging God to save me, but I knew I had a purpose. I knew the struggle would be worth it.
Okay, I think it's right around there. Probably around 400 or so. I'm just gonna boost it up a little bit, just to add a little more warmth back into this vocal.
Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy. Mama begging God to save me, but I knew I had a purpose. I knew the struggle would be worth it. I'm just a young dream chaser, gonna be a young trailblazer. Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy.
Okay. Alright, so we've got all the basic effects done on this. We got our EQ, compression, noise gating, we've done pitch correction, but it's still just too dry. We need to add some ambience to this track. So I'm thinking probably a slap delay and maybe some reverb on this track, and then I think we'll be good to move on to the next one. So I'll solo the track and let's listen to it on its own now.
Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy. Mama begging God to save me, but I knew I had a purpose. I knew the struggle would be worth it.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with slap delay. So make a new stereo aux input. I'll just call this slap. Solo save it. Select a bus for the input. And let me go ahead and rename this bus. And I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use H delay, which is another Waves plugin. And it has a preset, if you go to classics here, called Lo-Fi Slap, which is a great starting point, in my opinion, for slap delay. And so to finish up the routing here, let me go to the lead for the verse here, and let me actually make the send going to this bus. Turn it up, and let's have a listen.
Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy.
That's too many repeats. Just off the top of my head, just first listen. So I'm gonna bring the feedback down a little bit.
Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy.
And too long of a delay time also. Let me see if I can create a musical value for it. So I'll try like maybe 16th note.
Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy. Mama begging God to save me.
Yeah,
but I knew
16th
I had
note.
a purpose.
Sounds pretty good.
Knew the struggle would be worth it. I'm just a
All right, and then this plugin has high pass and low pass filters built into it. So we'll pull the frequency of the high pass down a little bit. It's a little too thin.
Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy. Mama begging God to save me, but I knew I had a purpose. I knew the struggle would be worth it.
All right, now let me blend it with the track.
Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy. Mama begging God to save me, but I knew I had a purpose. I knew the struggle would be worth it. I'm just a young dream chaser, gonna be a young trailblazer.
I'm gonna turn it up so it's easier to hear in the mix, but I don't want to overdo it. I'm definitely gonna keep this a little bit more subtle in the actual blend of the mix.
Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy. Mama begging God to save me, but I knew I had a purpose. I knew the struggle would be worth it. I'm just a young dream chaser, gonna be a young trailblazer. Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy. Mama begging God to save me, but I knew I had a purpose. I knew the struggle would be worth it.
All right. I like slap delays. Excuse me. I like slap delays on vocals because they give a little more live feel to the vocal. It almost sounds like you're in a, like a concert venue or something where there's just naturally a slap off of the back wall of the venue. So it always makes it feel more like it's an actual live performance to me when you have a slap delay on it as opposed to a studio recording. All right, so I'm happy with that sound, and let's try a little reverb. So we've got a couple of reverbs already set up, and let's see if they work for this vocal. So I'm gonna solo it again, and let's try the first reverb.
Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy. Mama begging God to save me, but I knew I had a purpose. I knew the struggle would be worth it.
Yeah, I like that. Let me listen to the other one too, just for comparison's sake.
Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking.
No, I don't like all the extra delay and everything from the CLA effects here. I'm gonna try making one more new reverb. So I'll make another stereo aux input. This will be reverb 3. Solo safe it. Set a bus for the input, and again I'm going to rename that bus reverb 3. And let's see, what do I want to try for this? I'm going to try this UAD EMT250. This is an emulation of one of the early digital reverbs that came out, and this was like an actual, it's like the size of like a paper shredder, and it had these big handles on it that you actually cranked around to change delay times and stuff like that. But just kind of a classic reverb sound. Let's see, let me finish up the routing so we can hear how this EMT250 sounds. So this will be reverb 3.
Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy.
Let me shorten up the delay time.
Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy. Mama begging God to save me, but I knew I had a purpose. I knew the struggle would be worth it. I'm just a young dream chaser, gonna be a young trailblazer. Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy. Mama begging God to save me, but I knew I had a purpose. I knew the struggle would be worth it. I'm just a young dream chaser, gonna be a young trailblazer.
Alright, so this is the pre-delay on the right that I'm messing with here, which is basically a pause of a certain amount of time in milliseconds before the reverb actually kicks in. So if you set it to 0, it's just immediate reverb, which I find kind of makes the vocal a little muddy if you go 0 milliseconds.
Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me.
But if you put a little pause in there,
Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me.
to me makes it a little easier to understand the words that are being said. So let me say, I kind of like this, but let me compare it to the first reverb, see which one I like better.
Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy. Mama begging God to save me, but I knew I had a purpose. I knew the struggle would be worth it.
That first reverb's a little more subtle than this EMT250. Let me hear it with the track and I'll compare those two again. So here's the first reverb that I did with the Reverb plugin.
Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy. Mama begging God to save me, but I know I had a purpose.
And let me change it now.
Knew the struggle would be worth it.
Try that UAD reverb.
Young dream chaser, gonna be a young trailblazer. Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy. Mama begging God to save me, but I know I had a purpose.
I like that EMT reverb. It's nice, big, lush kind of sounding reverb, but for this track, it's just kind of a fun, bouncy sounding track. I think it might be a little overbearing for this, so I think I actually am gonna go with that reverb here, and I'll just go ahead and delete this EMT 250 track since I'm not gonna be using it for this. Alright, and now I need to find the right level for it, so I'm going to pull the send down, play the track, and then just start turning it up and find a nice blend of the two.
Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy. Mama begging God to save me, but I knew I had a purpose. I knew the struggle would be worth it. I'm just a young dream chaser, gonna be a young trailblazer.
Alright, let me mute
Growing up, I was a black sheep.
the send going to the slap for a second here while I kind of get the level set on this reverb.
Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy. Mama begging God to save me, but I knew I had a purpose. I knew the struggle would be worth it. I'm just a young
bring the
dream
slap back
chaser, gonna be a young trailblazer. Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me.
Pull the slap down a
People
little bit.
looking at me like I'm crazy. Mama begging God to save me, but I know.
Okay, and then one last thing. On that slap delay that I have right here, since I have that reverb on the lead vocal, I kind of want the delay or the echo of that to have the same reverb on it, to make them sound like they're kind of in the same sonic space. So I'm going to create a send going from this slap delay track. I'm going to send it to the same reverb that I'm using for this lead vocal so that they both have the same reverb on them.
Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy. Mama begging God to save me.
Let me hear this with the track.
Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could.
Mute the backgrounds for now. And I'm going to reset the level on this lead. So I'm going to pull it down, play the track, and start pushing the fader up till it feels like it blends with the track well.
Looking at me like I'm crazy. Mama begging God to save me, but I knew I had a purpose. I knew the struggle would be worth it. I'm just a young dream chaser, gonna be a young trailblazer. Growing up, I was a black sheep.
Alright, so let's listen to it now without the parallel effects. Here's the dry.
Mama begging God to save me, but I knew I had a purpose. I knew the struggle would be worth it.
And then we'll bring the effects back in now.
Gonna be a young trailblazer.
With the time-based effects.
Growing up, I was a black sheep. I thought no one could understand me. People looking at me like I'm crazy. Mama begging God to save me, but I knew I had a purpose. I knew the struggle would be worth it. I'm just a young dream chaser, gonna be a young trailblazer.
Okay. I think I'm at a pretty good spot with this for now. Let me hear it on the second verse too. Make sure it still sounds good there.
No worries. I lost my pops when I was 17. It could have made me bitter. Instead, it made me better. And now I live life fearlessly. That's how I got my Phoenix wings. Running from reality, living out my destiny.
Okay. Sounds good, I think. Now, with these parallel effects like reverbs and delays, when you're trying to figure out how much reverb or how much delay to put on the track, I'd say it's always better to err on the side of the reverb or delay not being loud enough rather than too loud. I think it'd be better for your vocals to be a little too dry rather than having too much of this effect on it, because it'll make the track real muddy if you overdo it. So, you know, when you're setting your levels to, when you're messing with the song or whatever song you're mixing and you're trying to figure out how much reverb, how much delay, or any of these parallel effects that I have set up over here, always err on the side of it being a little too quiet rather than a little too loud. That's just kind of my personal take on that kind of thing. But when you're mixing, it's all personal preference. It's what you like. There's not really a hard rule on any of this stuff. If it sounds good, it is good, and everybody hears things a little bit differently. Everybody's opinions are a little different. So just keep that in mind as you're watching these videos too, that this is just my approach to mixing. All engineers kind of have a different approach. They have a different way of setting up Pro Tools and routing their effects and all that kind of stuff. And there's no right or wrong. It's just, does it sound good or does it not sound good? So hopefully by the time we're all done with this song, hopefully all of you agree with me that this does sound good. And in the process, you've learned a few new techniques and tricks and things that you can try on your own. So I'm going to call this video on these lead vocals and say we're good on that for now. So in the next tutorial video, we'll look at these background vocals for the verse and take a look at some sub-mixing using these aux inputs. As aside from only using them just for effects, we can also use them for basically doing small mixes or sub-mixes within our larger mix that's going on. So basically I'm going to use an aux as kind of like a master fader for all these background vocals in a way. Alright, so if you don't know what I'm talking about right now, don't stress it. You'll see in the next video. Alright, so practice and enjoy.
But I still persevere, yeah, I slide through anyone or anything that ever tried to derail me. You can't tell me, not a thing. If I want to dream, I'm a dream. Better yet, if I want to do, I'm going to. Next move, best move. No more talk, just show, just prove. Yes, you. Yes, you.